if you want to build your personal brand, if you want to spread your message, if you want to be a guest on the top podcasts in your industry, then you are going to devour this episode of Ducker Zone. Hello and welcome back to the Ducker Zone, the place where week by week I share tips, tactics and strategies that'll help you build a future-proof business based around your personal brand and the people that you want to serve. So, let's talk podcast. I'm assuming you listen to them. I mean, pretty much everyone is doing so nowadays. But what if podcasts could somehow factor into your business strategy? What if you could actually find a way to build podcasts into your content marketing efforts and drive engagement and even profit? Well, Melissa from Toronto asked me this very question recently, and I thought I'd answer it for her right here today on the show and for all you guys as well, on how to actually become the podcast guest that everyone wants to have on their show. Now, here's a secret from me to you. Podcast hosts are always, and I repeat, always looking for great guests. You might think that they've got this ever-expanding list of people that they can have on to the show, but the fact is that getting all those guests lined up is a hell of a lot of work. So if you're wanting to pitch hosts to get on more shows in the coming months and years, follow these quick tips to catch the attention you need, and honestly, only about 5% of people are actually doing this. So number one, be a fan first. You wouldn't believe how many pitches podcast hosts get from people who don't even listen to their podcasts. It's painfully obvious when I'm receiving a long form letter or a blanket pitch that also has gone out to sort of a dozen other hosts. And I promise you, those are always the first ones that get deleted. Good hosts work really hard to create valuable content for a very specific audience. And if you aren't part of that audience, in my eyes, you really have absolutely no business at all being on the show in the first place. So if you're a fan of a show, the host will know it right away in your pitch, will smell it. They'll be able to tell you from the detail that you add and the enthusiasm that you show in the pitch itself. So number one, be a fan. Number two is to do your research. Most hosts have sites or at least a page dedicated to their podcast. So even if you already listen regularly to the show, check the site first to see if the host has any requirements for potential guests. Again, you'd be surprised how many people don't do this. Just take a minute to check that site out and to see if the host requires anything specific. It could be the difference between you getting on the show and not. Number three is to personalize the email that you send to the person's show that you want to be on. So when you're ready to reach out to the host of a show that you want to get on and be featured on, do so in a tone that really represents your personal brand. If you're a funny person, be funny in your email. If you're super blunt, be blunt. If you show your personality and then align with the show's purpose and the host's requirements, you're way more likely to get an invite. You want ultimately your appearance on their show to be an utter no-brainer for everyone involved, which means you have to go the extra mile to make your email an intriguing first point of contact. And how do you do that? Well, you be bright first and foremost, and you be brief. Good hosts are always busy, so you've got probably 200 words max to sell yourself and what you're all about when you reach out to them. Now, a structure that works particularly well starts off with a quick greeting, and then you want to slowly kind of caveat that into your expertise and a demonstration or a bit of proof that you actually do listen to the show and that you know what you're talking about. And finally, and this is a biggie, a real biggie, you want to go ahead then and invite the host to check out a piece of content that you've created before in the past that could lend itself to a really interesting on-air discussion for their show. They get a better understanding as to what they can expect from you as a guest if you do that. Now, number 4 is to make it about them. It's not about you, it's about them. Once you secure the interview and you get on the show itself, here's a really cool way to blow the host away. You want to talk about the parallels between your expertise and theirs. It sounds so simple, I know, but far too many guests get on and then just waffle on about themselves for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Don't be one of those guests. And lastly, I'll say the follow-up is probably more important than anything else. When an interview is over, give it a couple of days and then reach out to the host, letting them know how much you enjoyed your time on the show with them, and then offer to promote the show to your platform when it's ready. And that's how you position yourself to become a podcast guest that everyone wants to have on their show. Now, if you've got a question that you'd like to fire at me, go ahead and just drop me a message on social media, where I'm all about Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook more than anything else. Be sure to use the hashtag DuckerZone. I should get one of those signs to hold up, shouldn't I? And I could be turning it into a future episode of the show. I will see you next week. Until then, keep chasing it down.